Yo, we got Family Ties 2 coming to you December 9th, San Francisco, neck of the woods. We got 4 of the best hip-hop groups from San Francisco coming at you, performing on one night. Grab tickets. Link is in the description. Music matters. Ooh, that was a crispy opening the yerb as soon as the clap happened.
You're welcome.
That was beautiful. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Israel's Arcade. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. The blue and the red yerb in tandem are like cool color combinations there.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. How you feeling, dude, with the new record coming out and everything? What are the like overwhelming emotions of the past like couple weeks? When did you announce it now? It was like a week ago?
I announced it, I believe, in like September.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while.
Yeah.
And I've done this just so you know, so I could have enough time to promote it and fucking.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of debating if I like announced it like 2 ahead of time, you know, but I don't know. I think it was good planning.
Yeah.
I've been feeling I don't know. I've been I talked to my friend recently and he said that like it's really like hard for him to like talk the talk.
Yeah.
Like he just like kind of has to like walk the walk, and that's, you know.
In what way? Like
it's hard to be like so hyped about it and
Yeah.
fucking, you know, especially because like I've been working on this record for like literally like 3 years. And like I wanted to release it last year like in March, and that didn't end up happening.
what happened with that? What like kept it from releasing last March?
So basically like who I was like getting the album like mixed and mastered with, they live in Florida, and so it was a lot of like back and forth. Like he sends me the track, I send him notes, he sent, you know what I mean?
That's like so much.
It's
yeah.
so tedious, and so that's why it ended up taking so long. And then like some stuff happened like with, you know, like with my team, and you know, it just like kept getting delayed. But they say you have like your entire life to release your first album, so
Yeah.
you know.
Well, what do they say? They say you have your whole life to release your first one, but like if it does good, you get like a year and a half or
Exactly.
2 years to release the second
I'm planning
one.
for that already.
Yeah. Do you think there's such thing as like releasing a record or announcing a record too far in advance? Like, do you think like that can negatively detract from like the tension or the hype, or like were you scared to release it too far in advance?
Well, like you definitely want to have momentum.
Yeah, for sure.
And like I think it can like definitely get like annoying to be like, I don't know, like if I announced it in January and said it was gonna come out in December.
Yeah,
It'd
for
just
sure.
been like, all right, dude, like he's talking about his fucking album again. Like I doubt he's like even gonna release it at this point. You
Yeah.
know? So I don't know. I feel like there has to be like a nicely calculated like
Middle ground.
Exactly, for like momentum purposes, and like you want to like make sure you have people's like, you know, attention and engagement and all that stuff.
I think I struggle with that for shows. Like I never know like how far in advance a show needs to be announced, because some people will announce a show like 3 days prior.
Right.
And like that almost adds to the allure of the event, and they like get more people
Definitely.
there like inadvertently. But some people, you know, the opposite philosophy they kind of invoke, and they just announce it like 2 months in advance, just so, you know, people have time to get it off or whatever. I never know like how far in advance you should be announcing stuff like that.
Wow. Well, some bands got it like that, dude. Like
Yeah,
some
sure.
bands can announce like a show like 3 days before and it'll sell out.
Yeah,
I
which is
can't do that. Like I
crazy.
have to fucking promote the shit out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but I don't mind it at all.
I think that should be like every band's goal, though, to like build. Have you heard of the concept of 1,000 true fans? I feel like I reference this so much, but
No.
it's like the idea that like if you in any creative endeavor have 1,000 true fans, you can like make a living off what you're doing. And like, but they define a fan very specifically. Like a fan is like someone who like every time you're in their city, they're gonna see you. They're
Yeah.
buying your merch. You know, they're supporting you in every way they can. So that's
Right.
like a fan. And if you can get like 1,000 of those, you're good. You're set. Whether you're a
You
painter,
think in
or,
each city?
no, just in general.
Yeah. I
Like-
definitely have like 100 of them.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like an amazing start. How long have you been doing it?
Since 2018.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, yeah. Does it feel like when you look back, because I started what I'm doing in 2018 too.
Yeah.
When you look back at it, does it feel like it's been that long?
It doesn't. It feels like brand new, especially because like our first album is barely coming out. Like
Yeah.
it feels like a fresh start, but really like we've been like fucking cracking at this for forever. Like 2018 was a while ago.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And that's the cool part about it too, because it's like when you start things, you don't know what it's going to be. You don't know like what you actually want it to be.
Absolutely.
It takes. I think you're very smart in that regard to take like that long to put out your first body of work. Because like you said, you only get to do it once. You know.
Yeah, and it's like a fucking bummer seeing like like great artists with great music, and then them like announcing it like fucking 2 weeks before and being like, yo, song dropping this day, and they might not have like that many listeners. They release it, it's a fucking banger, and nobody listens to it.
Yeah.
That's like, promotion has always been like one of my biggest things. Like I truly believe it's like 50-50,
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. And it's like this weird relationship. It's like, I think it's 50-50 and they hold hands like the perfect way. It's like, if the music's not good, everything else is useless. Yeah. So that's like, point blank period. Like the music has to be good first, which is why I applaud you for taking so long to put out your first record. Cause it's like, obviously you found that. And it's like, so if the music isn't good, nothing else matters. But if people don't see the music that's good, it doesn't matter that the music's good.
Right. Right.
So it's like, I feel like there's like a million ways to do this, but like the common link amongst everybody that has success is that point blank period, their music is good,
Yeah. Maybe like if you have like really good promo and you announce it in advance and everything, but the music isn't good, like you probably still get a good amount of people to listen to it, but I think the big thing is like longevity. Like, will people keep coming back to it in fucking 2-3 years?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah. When do you think you realized that like this was 50-50? Because I think it took me, like when I got into this stuff, it took me a very, very long time to realize that, both from like a musician standpoint and also like a media company standpoint, to begin to understand like that this really is 50-50. Was there like a moment or an event or like somebody you looked at? Like what made you realize that?
I really have no idea, but I've been thinking like this like since the start. I remember like in our backyard show days, and I talk about this all the time, but like I would put together my own backyard shows in my hometown, and I would put together the lineup, and like on the lineup I would have like bands that have been doing it for like fucking 3 years prior, but I would get my homie to make the flyer. I would put together the show, so I would make myself the headliner. Even though like I could only get 5 people to come to the show. Like I was like, make my name the fucking biggest one there, and like trick people into thinking we were bigger, you know. But I think that kind of goes hand in hand with like promo, like you're kind of like tricking the viewer,
100%. I remember when I first, so like this thing, for context, this started as like, in 2018 as it was like an Instagram account and then a blog. And then it became a YouTube channel and a media company, then an events company, and now it's like a comic book company. It's nice. All kinds of shit now. Yeah. But
you're like Kanye, dude.
that as a compliment and a diss. The good parts. Yeah. You are too.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
No, but like when it was a blog, I remember consciously thinking about like that idea that you were just talking about, and I would like make up names to write under. Because I wanted more people to like I wanted people to think it was bigger than it was.
Yep.
It was bigger than it was.
That's very smart.
Yeah, but then it was like I did that for so long, and then I think recently I've backtracked and I've realized that like people are so hyper aware and hyper sensitive to that now. Like the only thing that makes you different now is being yourself and like having a voice and like trying to feel like a human.
Yes.
People don't try to feel like human anymore, like even as musicians, I feel like some musicians make it so difficult for them to to relate to them.
Yes. Yeah, I saw some of like your clips that you had on Instagram, and you're like, I'm a fan, by the way.
Thank you so much, man.
You're like talking directly into the phone. Your face is like covering the fucking whole screen, which is like so many people don't have the balls to do that,
Thank you, bro.
Like they like kind of have to hide behind the screen or whatever, and like you're like talking directly to the viewer, and like what you're saying like has fucking like actual like like substance, and your personality shines through, and I just feel like so many people are afraid to do that,
Thank you, man. Yeah. I think I was afraid to do that for the first 4.5 years of this.
Yeah.
I was terrified of it.
Yeah.
There's a piece of paper hanging behind like Mario over there, and it's just like this gigantic like we call it the manifesto. But it's like this gigantic piece of like 6 papers that I like stapled together one night, like probably like 6 months ago now, sitting at this table, realizing all the things that I'd been trying to do for the past like 4.5 years and why they hadn't been working, and like the insecurities that I think I had to like deal with, and like the ego, the ego and things that I had accumulated that I had to relinquish, and like so many of those like toxic traits that come with being a creative. But I realized like one of the big ones on there is that like I was very afraid to like, I think I was too insecure to be a leader, and too insecure to like show my face and be like the face of something. Yeah. And that was really difficult. And I think I always tried to like relinquish that by like, building a team around this and, making a community, because that's still what I want to do. But I realized like at a certain point, it's not egotistical to like be the face of something as long as you're passionate about it and you really care, It's
definitely harder to do that, I feel like, when you're younger.
For sure.
Because especially like in high school, like, because you have to like come back to school every day.
100%.
And like people are just like fucking looking at you, and they're probably laughing at you, and they're probably talking shit.
They were.
But then you're out of high school. How old are you?
I'm 21.
Oh, me too.
Oh, nice. Hell yeah.
So yeah, like once you're out of high school, that's when you like really like come into your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you start like caring less about what people think about you. But yeah, that's so fucking smart of you, dude, to
Thank
fucking
you,
write that down and to kind of like look at like your situation objectively.
It's
very
hard,
few
dude,
people do that. That's such a great trait, dude.
That's cool that I didn't know you were 21 too. So that so you were.
I look old as fuck. I know.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, dude. When I was fucking like 17, people thought I was 23. I got like some lady at work said that I fucking she was like, "You're definitely younger than 30." I was like, yeah.
You're like, yeah, well, there's 29 numbers there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. Yeah. So, okay, that's interesting. So you're 21. I'm 21. And you started in 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So how was the reaction to, like, when you were in high school around it? Because you said growing up in Coachella, were there... Because I'm interested to hear about this, because in my head, it's like, there were either a ton of people doing it there, or nobody. But like, I'm curious, like, was there a lot of people around you doing it? Like, what was the reaction like to your peers when you started doing the thing?
So there was like two bands. Okay, there was probably like two bands that were in their early 20s when I was in high school. There was like 3 bands who were like in their 30s.
Damn.
Moment of silence for that airplane.
They're trying to see what we're doing.
They're probably some government.
Yeah, some government spies.
Yeah, dude.
2 bands in their 20s.
And then there was like, I think at the time we were like the youngest band.
Cool.
Yeah, and then there was like some rappers and stuff like that. So my shows consisted of like my homies who were rappers, and a girl that would just like get up there like playing on her acoustic guitar and stuff like that. Like it was all over the place, but that's all I could fucking gather up, you know? Like there was one other band that popped up for like a couple months that was playing like cool like indie music that I was like, perfect, like we're gonna be like fucking brother bands, but
hell yeah,
they kind of like sizzled off, and so yeah, it was very much like, it felt almost like pulling teeth for a while, like trying to make it happen, like I kept having to fucking do it until some like traction picked up from it. But as far as like people like being mean about it like at school or whatever, I didn't really deal with that, just because like in high school I was very like my first 3 years, like up until junior year of high school, like I was pretty much like a loner. Like I only had like one other friend, and so like nobody like really like knew me personally, and like for some reason I always tell like people from my hometown about my high school like being so like, everybody was so nice and respectful, like even like the fucking like cholos and gangsters and fucking jocks, whatever, that you would expect them to be like in high school I was very androgynous, and like I'd wear dresses and I would wear like makeup and lipstick and paint my nails, and I was really skinny, had long hair. And nobody was ever like mean to me.
That's so sick.
Yeah,
wow.
It was very cool.
That's so cool.
And it doesn't make sense. Like to this day, I don't understand.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think like,
I would have fucking bullied me.
I think maybe there's a part of it, because I think about this a lot too. I work for this other media company called Live 2. Shout out to Live 2. And we did this thing a couple weeks ago, or I guess a few months ago now, where we like went to this dock.
Yeah.
And asked a bunch of random boat owners to like let us throw a show on their boat, and we got one, which is crazy.
That's so tight.
Yeah, it was wild. But similar thing. Like I think like
we were surprised that people weren't mean.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of us, and I don't know, maybe this is only me, I'm projecting here, but I very often, I think, tend to like assume that people are going to be more mean or rude or less receiving of something I present for whatever reason.
I mean, it's just those insecurities. I
think it's what it is. Yeah,
you know, it's what we're afraid of. That's like the likelihood of that actually happening is pretty low.
Yeah, it's almost like the things that you may think about yourself,
Yeah.
you get afraid that other people will think them as well, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, oh, it's a really, really weird concept. But I think it's like, I think it comes to like learning to trust people and learning that like not everybody is around you who's going to be a dick. And it's just, it's a very long process, but I think you always find your people, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, they say like you're like your own worst enemy,
For
you know?
sure, yeah.
Like you like, yeah, I even have like homies who say like, you can't fucking bring me down because everything that you can come up with, like I've already said to myself.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel that. I feel that. When do you think like, so you start that in 2018 and you said you were throwing your own shows then back then?
Yes, sir.
So that's really cool. I think there were a lot of bands in the early days and artists in the early days that were doing that because was that because you couldn't get shows? And was that like, how was that like? Were they mostly house shows or what was that kind of period of your life like?
They were pretty much all house shows. I mean, the sole purpose of that was one, like we were kids. We were just kids. Like, so there was two bands that were in their early 20s at the time. We were in high school, and I reached out to them one day, and I was like, hey, can we please like open for you? And I'm a 15-year-old kid or 16, whatever, and like they just like left me on red. Like who the fuck is this kid? You know, like I didn't have any credibility.
Yeah.
And like I didn't have anything saying I could sell tickets. I didn't have merch. I didn't have music out at the time. I pretty much had nothing. Just
like
being like,
account.
hey, can I do a show? You know.
Dude, the same thing for me when I first started doing interviews. Same
Yeah.
type of thing. So I feel you.
Yeah, dude. There's one venue in the valley, but it fits like fucking like 400 to 500 people. So it's like
big.
Yeah, you know, I couldn't sell that out.
Yeah.
Or like sell any tickets there. You know.
I feel like a lot of people start that way though. It's like you can't get shows, so you throw them yourself. You know, how long were you doing that for?
I did backyard shows for probably maybe like 2 to 3 years. That was my fucking grind. Like, and there's like my senior year of high school, end of junior year as well. Pretty much every weekend was like a backyard show. Every fucking weekend. Like I still like fucking look back at those days of being like, you know, like fucking 7th period just on Friday, just waiting to like go to my show.
The edge of your seat, ready
Dude,
to go.
That was the best feeling. And then like, you know, I was a loner up until junior year, but senior year, like I reached a point where I was like, okay, I'm tired of like not having friends. So I was kind of quiet, and then I started talking to people and making friends, and then I like got like formed my band, and so yeah, it became like a whole like little community. I had like my whole like friend group, and we were all like, all my friends would go to that show, and it was like the funnest thing to do, you know?
Yeah. I think there's like a moment, and this is I can relate to you like in this regard as well. I think like what I'm doing didn't feel real until
The little leather ASMR.
Oh, is that what that is?
I think so. Yeah.
Whoa, that was crazy. That's a crazy noise. Sounds like when you like bite a Pringle, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
That was wild.
Kind of sounds like plastic.
Yeah, it kind of does. Or like something's breaking up. I kind of thought it was like a cord disconnecting for a second. I was like, oh no. But I don't think I realized like, I think what I can relate to you in that regard is like, I didn't realize like what I was doing was real until there was a community around it.
Yeah.
And that is the coolest part to me. Like when you realize that, like, you know, did you ever get to a point where you saw those people like returning to your shows and faces, you know, kind of sticking around? And like,
absolutely.
When you did you start to understand that there are people who like wanted to see you succeed and were following this and like were invested in it?
There definitely was. Like, I think it was really weird. Like, I had my friend group, and then there was like a group of kids that would come to the shows, but like, I feel like they were afraid to like it really express to me. Also, I was kind of I was kind of, I don't know, an asshole like back in those days. Definitely, like I was like a bit like standoffish and fucking like just like serious all the time.
Was it out of like nervousness, you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like out of insecurity.
For sure.
And like also like I was androgynous back then. So I always think about that. Maybe that was one of the reasons why kids were mean to me. Like so because I would dress that way, I always carried myself very tough, and I would like stand tall. I would wear really tall shoes.
On some Kurt Cobain shit.
Yeah. What do you do that or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was his whole MO. It was like he would dress like pretty androgynously, but then he would like get off stage. Have you seen the video of him at one of the Unplugged shows or like, I don't know what the show was. It was one show, but there's this guy he saw like assaulting this woman in the crowd, and he gets he jumps off the stage and beats the shit out of him, and he's wearing a dress.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I haven't
Crazy
seen that.
video.
That's pretty sick, though.
Yeah, it's super sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's what it reminds me
But
of.
I remember like going to class and fucking wearing a dress and makeup and shit, and then just like, I don't know, I was just so aggressive. Like I would like slam down my fucking backpack and like pull out the chair and like man spread, and you know, like these were all just security blanket things. Like these were like, this totally all came from like insecurity, and you know, like because like if it were up to me, I would just be like fucking softer and shit at the time, you know. But anyways, I fucking sidetracked there. Yeah, so kids, there was definitely a community building, but I feel like I never really got to like make too many friends outside of my friend group in that like people who were coming to the shows, you know.
Yeah.
And I like to think that was because I was like kind of unapproachable at the time, you know.
Yeah, it's my roommate says this thing a lot, where he talks about how it's like, you know, sometimes people who are unapproachable, or sometimes people who are like seem unfriendly or seem unapproachable. It's like they're either actually standoffish and rude and like are really like exclusive, or very often they're just like anxious. Like it's very easy, I think, to interpret like somebody being anxious, or it's very easy to misinterpret rather somebody being anxious and like you know, having social anxiety, for somebody just being mean and rude and unfriendly.
Like, why didn't this guy say hi to me? It's because that fool's fucking like screaming inside. Like, he's scared to talk to you. Yeah.
But it takes a lot of self-awareness, I think, to like take a step back and like realize that, you know.
I think there's pretty much always a reason for people like acting that, like I would say like 90% of the time, you know.
Yeah.
Like there's always a reason for somebody acting like an asshole or fucking being like cold or whatever.
100%. I had this conversation yesterday actually with some of my friends who were in town. We were talking about like radical empathy and like the experience of like when somebody mistreats you or says something that like pisses you off or does you wrong or whatever, like the process of, instead of like retaliating that energy, instead like using it to understand why they may or may not have said that. And I was trying to like figure out like when I realized that was like a valuable trait, and when I realized it was from serving tables. I know we were talking about like food service and everything. Like I realized like I got that from serving tables.
You can like, take a lot of things personally too.
Like I remember like, you know, a customer would mistreat me or say something rude or whatever. It was like I either like in the beginning it pissed me off and it would get to me, but then I got to a place where I realized that like that was like I'm giving them so much power. Like there's no reason I should let this person affect me that way, you know? And
dude,
it's like,
I used to be a server and I quit because of that reason.
Really?
Because I would just like get too, you know, like caught up in like, oh, this person didn't like me,
it's
or
hard,
this person's
dude.
being an asshole, and like you kind of just feed your mind that, and it just becomes super overwhelming. I couldn't do it. And then like you're working for tips, so like a lot of times I would like try to like be like super happy when I wasn't happy.
That's what I did every day for like 6 years.
Jesus, dude.
It was tough, but
that's taxing, man. I feel like that's why so many people in the like fucking food industry like are alcoholics.
Dude, 100%, man, 100%. It's very, very difficult. I think I got to a place though where you know, where I am now, I'm very appreciative of and incredibly grateful for, and I don't think I would be if I didn't like serve tables for so long to be able to get to this place, you know.
Right.
It was like super difficult, man. And but you get there and you figure it out, you know. And it's like you only figure it out because of the hard times, I think. They teach you something every single day.
You also have to be aware of it too. Like I feel like there's so many people who are just like they can do that forever and they're bothered by it, but they don't realize that, you know, I don't know. They don't realize that like what's bothering them or what's, you know, a problem or what I should fix, or you know, people don't really analyze situations like that. I feel like so. Yeah, 100%. That's a good trait.
And then there's people who also just get like stuck because like they never question like what it is they're doing on a day-to-day basis. They're just so much on autopilot that they think this is like the only option for them.
Absolutely.
And that's sad. Like I had a boss at one of my serving jobs. They spoke like, dude, he spoke 4 languages. He like was an ex-Marine. Like this guy was so smart and like so strong and like resilient. And it just like, me and him were like homies. So he would always like complain to me about like how much he hated working at this restaurant. And I just like, I didn't know how to like convey to him that he could do something else, you know, because he was just so smart and so hardworking. And like, I just never knew how to tell this guy, like, you don't have to do something you hate, you know?
Right. You could do anything. Like, yeah.
Do you think you realized, like, when did you first realize that you wanted to do music as a career? Like, when did you realize that it was a possibility?
I think I kind of just like fell into it. So like a little backstory. I used to be in this like music like academy when I was a kid that I like got like a scholarship for, so I don't have to, you know, my parents didn't have to pay for it.
Cool. Like
I like auditioned and they liked me, so like I got to go for free. And in that little music academy, I like started like recording like at home on my own. I started recording like little like demos on GarageBand, and I uploaded them to SoundCloud. And one day I showed like one of these demos to this guy who was like a music teacher there. And he was a young guy, really cool, like long hair, you know, he like studied audio engineering at USC. He was a really cool guy. He had good taste in music. Like one of the first things like we like connected on when I was like 14 at the time was Mac DeMarco. Like cool. Nobody like, you know, where I lived wasn't really listening to that, and he did. Yeah. And like he had great taste in music. So anyways, I played that song for, so basically what the program was like, it was like School of Rock essentially. So, you know, they would like set up little bands. So you play guitar, this guy plays drums, and so they would like set him up in a band. You know?
Yeah. That's what they do at School of Rock, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
So, and then you guys would have to decide on like what song to play. Yeah. And then I was like, I wanted them to play one of my songs. And so I played it. I played like the recording that I had of it, and then this coach, his name is Will, he heard it and like was impressed. I think it sounds very like Strokes, like, you know, like how the guitars are strung.
And you were still like 14 this time?
Yeah, I was 14, and I'd like just got into the Strokes, you know, at that time. And so he told me like he told me he'd be down to like produce like an album for me for free. And I was like, what the fuck? Like nobody, you know, like, I don't know, like this guy's reaching out to me. And like before that I hadn't really thought of like fucking putting out music or anything or making a career or anything like that. Like I was just doing it for fun. And so he suggested this, and I was like, fuck yeah, like I'm 14, I can't fucking deny this. It's like the coolest thing.
That's awesome.
And then so we recorded this like EP. From there, like I had these whole like full recordings, you know, like with like drums and bass and horns in them. And so I was like, I now have to, you know, obviously like this is gonna come out, I have to play this live, so I'm gonna need a band. Yeah. So then the band formed, and it like slowly started becoming like, you know, this is a thing that I like this is my path, you know?
And who was the band at this time? Were the kids from the School of Rock, or was it kids who you were going to school with, or?
So it was Israel's Arcade already at the time, but in the band I had like, you know, this girl that I went to school. I think it was all people that I went to school with actually. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was in the jazz band in school, and so I like fucking gathered everybody up from there.
Sick. Yeah. And then so you're doing that, and then like, did he end up making the record for you, or?
No, the record was like completed.
Oh, okay. So he just ended up producing it with you, or what?
Will?
Yeah.
Yeah. We produced the record like together.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, dude, it was so sick. Like my mom would like drop me off at his house like 3 days out of the week, and she would like pack like burritos for us. And he would have me at his house for like fucking 5 hours. Wow. And dude, he was like, I fucking love that guy to death.
What's he up to now?
Now I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while, so it's kind of funny to like talk about it. But now he's like totally like not involved in music. Like now he's like the president of some like environmental like awareness like company. That's sick. And like one of his articles like got like I don't know, like they spoke about it like at the White House, some shit like that.
Oh, so he's doing cool shit.
He's killing it, dude.
Yeah.
He's the coolest fucking guy. Like I'll always have respect and like admiration and for that guy.
That's so like.
'Cause he saw something
yeah.
in me, like.
I think that's so cool, dude. Yeah.
I always feel so lucky, like you know, like I almost feel in a sense like he like chose me or like he saw something in me, like that one teacher like you might have like in school that like knows that like, oh, you're a special one, like, you can write or something like that,
100%.
It's the best.
That I think is like infinitely like reinforcing and valuable when you first have that one person who like believes in you. Like I remember like a couple instances in like my journey where like I met somebody who like, and it was very rare for a long time, but like really believed in this.
Yeah.
And like really would reach out to me constantly and like help me and like, guide me. It's like having that mentorship, like somebody who really believes in you, it just instills so much confidence,
Absolutely.
It's like an incredible process. That is so cool though that like he was willing to take that chance on you. That's so beautiful.
Dude. I had a teacher in high school. His name is Mr. Funkhauser.
That's the coolest name I've ever heard.
Yeah. He would wear
Funkhauser.
a white t-shirt, blue jeans, hiking boots every single day and like aviators. Yeah, he was so sick. But one day he told me, get out of my class, never come back, drop out of school. Like, you don't need school. Go to Los Angeles. Like, you're an artist. Like, this isn't for you. Like, get out of here.
Whoa, that is so sick.
And I was like, okay, I'm not going anywhere, but thanks.
That is so cool. What?
Yeah. And we still we email each other. He's retired now, but dude, he's the best.
I wonder what would have happened if you told the principal that he was doing that. They would have been they would have fired him on the spot.
Yeah, right.
That is so sick, dude. I think like teachers often I don't even think they often realize like how much they can change the life of a student. It always blows my mind that teachers are paid the way that they are, because like I think about a teacher in the same way you think of like a doctor, right? Like a doctor can like save somebody's life. Well, maybe not the same, but like similar fashions. It's a doctor can like save a kid's life like physically, but a teacher can like save a kid from like going down a certain path,
Absolutely.
I think like there's so many teachers in my life that I think like really brought like things out of me that I didn't think existed, and like that is like such an art and such a skill in itself. It's kind of like the idea like you can bring a horse to water but you can't make him drink. It's like I don't think you can like teach a kid something like valuable lesson by like forcing it down their throat. You have to like kind of coax them into it.
Yeah. Love that guy. Respect. He's he's retired now. I think he moved to like fucking Nebraska or some shit.
Legend.
He just he has like 2 photos on his Instagram just like on a fucking horse. He's killing it.
Probably like on mushrooms, like he's in the Grateful Dead.
It's like he found himself. He can finally be himself.
What a legend.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, so I want to talk to you about the title of the record too, Live Your Fantasy. So you have a track out already called Live Your Fantasy.
Yeah.
What is that the single from the album? And then what is that title, like what does it mean to you?
So yeah, it's the title track. What it means to me is, I don't know, I guess just like not being forced to like be like confined to whatever like society tells you to be, or whatever your parents tell you to be, or without sounding too corny, just like fucking like follow your heart, follow your dreams, and like do that without like any remorse, and just fully do it. Like if your wildest dreams can come true, like if you fucking work hard enough for it. I think like that was one of my biggest things with this album, is that like I can so easily be like kind of like a downer, or have just like be like a negative guy, or write really sad songs, but I think because like I've dealt with so many like mental health issues, and I've dealt with that a lot, like I know that that's something that I shouldn't tamper with. Like I know like if I made songs extremely depressive songs, it can definitely like affect somebody, and they can really like I don't know, it can influence them,
For sure.
And so I really wanted to make songs, like Wages of Fear is another one. Like I really wanted to make songs with like a positive message without being too like fucking like blatant about it. Making it still like kind of poetic and kind of fun and cool. But yeah, I wanna be able to like put out a positive message, and I think that's like, it's like, I think that with like the title "Live Your Fantasy," I kind of, in my opinion, like kind of figured out like a nice little title that sounds cool, but still like has like a positive message, like fucking be what you want to be and do it without any remorse, you know. That's essentially what it means.
100%. I love the idea of like living to be the people who inspire you.
Yeah.
I think that is so cool. And like eventually like you just, you know, you have this whole journey and then you look up and then you just are those people.
Yeah.
You know, like it's so weird to sometimes realize like people are watching or there's people around you who are like inspired by what you do. It's like an incredible process because like you still in your head are always the person who's inspired, you know?
Absolutely.
Like it's such a strange concept.
I mean, I think like all of my favorite artists, you know, are fans. Like that's what they'll call themselves. Like they're
read that number 2 right there.
Number 2, we will never be like these music industry weirdos. If you're a fan of someone, tell them. If someone says they're a fan of you, say thank you. Cute.
Yeah. No, I love that. I know exactly what you mean. I love that idea, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like not being a fan, in my opinion, is like the worst thing you can do.
Absolutely. I mean, like, you look at bands like fucking, I don't know, like the biggest fucking rock bands like Foo Fighters or like Green Day, like those bands like grew up fucking idolizing, you know, Minor Threat, Black Flag, like all that shit. Or you have like fucking, I don't know, like fucking, you know, like AC/DC or some shit like that they grew up fucking listening to, like Little Richard or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everybody, they're always gonna, or Metallica, like they're fans of like fucking, like, I don't know, Iron Maiden and stuff like that, who are now like smaller bands than them, but I don't know. I think that that's so important, like to stay like true to that like childish part of
100%.
yourself and yeah.
Like there's so much ego that's involved with it though, because like I think it, you know, when you get egotistical, it's so easy to like, because it you know, I don't think we often like consciously admit it. But when you tell someone you're a fan of them, there's a power dynamic that exists that previously did not.
Yeah.
And then like when you reinforce that power dynamic, you're relinquishing a little bit of control in that situation to the other individual.
Right.
And it's like, I think when you know, to not do that, you have to be very egoless.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to look up to somebody. And I think it serves people better in the long run. Like I know so many people who like are unwilling to say they're a fan of somebody, which I think is gross. I think it's stupid.
It's such an LA thing.
Yes.
To be a fan of someone and to be like I've spotted it so many times when people are just like it's like the tone of their voice and like they try to act super nonchalant, like, oh dude, like yeah, that single was cool or whatever, you know.
Or like, dude, have you ever like told somebody like, oh dude, I love your stuff, I love this song, I love this record, and they just go, yeah, for sure.
Dude.
Like, bro, shut up.
Fucking die.
Yeah.
Those people are scum,
yeah.
dude.
I'm like, why? Like, you know what? Never mind. I retract it. I don't like it.
Exactly. That's the fucking worst too. That's like fucking when they say like don't meet your idols. And they turn out to be like that. You know.
What's sad though is like that reinforces. It's almost like this weird circle because it's like, you know, I'm a fan of you. I tell you, and then you say like for show instead of like thank you. And then like when you say that, I no longer want to tell people that I'm a fan of them.
Yeah.
So then I become the same guy whenever, like, you know, it's the thing that I'm doing is looked upon with fans. That when somebody says, you know, I'm a fan of you to me, I then go for show. It's like
so
a weird
simple
cycle
to say thank you. It's so fucking simple, and people like it's all ego, like what you said, you know. But yeah.
And it's also like I think like the further you or the more successful you get, it becomes less likely that you'll remain a fan, but the people who are the most successful are the people who remain fans.
Absolutely.
And I think that's like for a variety of reasons. But you even look at like, you know, what you were just saying. Like, for example, let's say like, you know, you just said like Metallica.
Yeah.
So Metallica, they grow up idolizing Iron Maiden. You know, they get bigger. You know, like even now, even though they're like a bigger fan or they're a bigger band than Iron Maiden now, of course, Iron Maiden's been around forever.
Yeah.
It just like, like there's an ecosystem then where like they have the power to put on more bands that could be the next Iron Maiden, which is like inherently good for their interests and like you know, like the forward motion of their genre and their lane.
Right.
It's cool. It's a weird concept, but it's like it's almost like how you become your parents. You know, like you become people that you want to see.
Or just like how like a headliner will go on tour and bring along like two bands that he fucks with or they fuck with, you know?
Yeah.
And then like that's kind of like inadvertently letting like your fans know like, oh, this is his taste, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's always so cool too, like seeing when like an artist like puts out like their personal playlist. You know, like
Oh, I
getting
love
to see
that,
like
yeah.
what they are listening to, and it like kind of doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's the best.
I love that. Jacob Armstrong from Ultra Q did that recently,
Yeah.
and I've been like binging his playlist. It's like so good. Like I
Yeah.
found so much cool shit that
This
I love.
is what
on
you
it.
listen to make you a genius.
Yeah, type shit. I think that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I think it's cool when bands do it, and they like each band member has their own playlist, and it's like on their Spotify.
Right.
Like I think that should be more of a thing. You know what it reminds me of
That's
is
so
like
cool.
how I mean bands in like the '90s. and,
Right.
like, that is so audible. What was that? Oh no, you're good. I don't know how these mics pick up the weirdest things.
Yeah. He just starts getting pissed. Let's
Yeah.
fucking wrap it up.
Come on, wrap it up. It reminds me of how like who was I? I was talking to my friend Gerald, who works at this venue called Brick and Mortar in San Francisco. Shout out to Gerald. But he was
It's one of the popular venues out there, right? I've heard of it.
we threw that show there and
Nice.
then that show there too. The
Cool.
first two on the far left.
Cool.
But yeah, so I had a conversation with him one time about, I think it was him, about how one thing that bands used to do that they don't really do anymore, or like rappers or artists or whatever,
Yeah.
is that like when there was a headliner playing a show, all the music that like either the DJ would spin or like, you know, whatever the house just would play, it was like bands that they fucked with.
Mhm.
Like it was like other artists that they liked, and that's not a thing anymore. Venues
That's
just
the
have their
coolest
house playlist and they play it, I think.
I remember I went to go see Current Joys like back in like
sick.
2017 or something, and they were like setting up, and fucking Nick Radigan was like, they were playing Frankie Cosmos, and he was like setting up and he was like singing along to it, and I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Fucking he fucks with Frankie Cosmos. That's so sick.
That is super. I wonder if they designed the playlist. They must have, yeah.
Maybe.
That is so cool, dude. That is so cool.
Yeah.
This new record that you're putting out, are you like, do you have a live set like ready for it? Like, are you gonna change what you're playing live like post this album?
For sure. I mean, it's like so hot. We pretty much only get to play like 30-minute sets.
Yeah.
30 to 45 minutes, you know? And so like we've had like a set that we've found like works really well for us, that keeps like
Nice.
the energy high the entire time. You know, without songs that are on the album, you know what I mean? So now we're gonna have to figure out a way to incorporate those album songs in there with like, you know, like I've, you know, since 2018, that's been one of my biggest things, is trying to like find like a good set list that keeps like the momentum up like the entire time.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a difficult thing because you have to perform it to like see if it works. Like you have to see how the fucking crowd responds, you know? So it's definitely gonna get like chiseled like as time goes on. But,
Yeah.
But we've been practicing a certain set, but we still have to make it nice.
Does it ever make you sad when it's always, I saw this thing that James Blake said.
Yeah.
Well, I had a friend who actually, he showed me this quote, but James Blake said this really cool thing about like how release day for him is like a sad thing sometimes, because it feels like it's like whatever you're putting out was your baby for so long, and it was like all yours and you owned it. And then there's this beautiful part of it that dies when you put it out into the real world, but it's kind of sad because you can't change it. It's like before, these were your songs, and now, you know, you're giving them to other people, which is very selfless. It's a very selfless thing to do. Is that like, is it ever sad for you when like songs get older and in your set you have to replace them with like newer songs? Like, how does chiseling that rock kind of work for you, and is it difficult?
It's a sad thing is, I think, like having songs that I love that people don't love the most. And so those songs that are just like getting like, you know, fading away and like are gonna get like put away for like a long time, you know, that I'm probably not gonna get to play unless like until I should say we get a lot bigger.
Hell yeah.
And,
Come back to this interview in 5 years.
Yeah,
Hell
dude, right? That'd be fucking tight. But yeah, that's definitely like a sad thing for me. I think more so it's like scary, I would say. Like it's scary to like put out something like, I don't know, like, you know, we were talking about like announced dates and all that shit. Like it's, for me, like I've had, like I wrote these songs. The oldest song on that record is from 2018, I'm pretty sure. You know, so it's fucking old, dude. And
how much has that song changed over the years?
Not very much.
Oh,
it's
cool.
Like there's a recording of it. We did like a live recording session. That's on YouTube. It has, you know, has like a good amount of views, And so people know that song. Like people come to our shows and they know that song already just from that YouTube video.
That's cool.
So like, and it's like our favorite song to play live too. It's like a fucking 10-minute song.
That's sick.
Yeah, but yeah, it's so weird to like have this thing, you know, in your pocket forever and just like for 3 years being like, you guys fucking don't know what you're in for, you know, I have something pretty cool in here. And then I feel like it's hard to like keep that up for so long.
Yeah.
To just be like, you know, I don't know, I'm not always feeling like I have something really cool to show you guys. Like sometimes I'm just kind of like, honestly, like this past week I've been a little bit scared. Like I feel like I'll listen to like new music that's coming out or whatever and I'll just be like, fuck, that's so good. Like, but like, I don't know, like my shit isn't as good as that or whatever. And then I'll have to go back and listen to my album and be like, all right, we're chilling. We're chilling.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's scary. It's so hard not to compare yourself to other people.
Absolutely.
It's so hard. I felt that when I moved to LA, especially. It was like I moved to LA and it's like, you know, your neighbor is the most talented person you've ever met, or like it's just crazy. You're so surrounded by this.
Can I smoke a stogie?
Yeah, go for it. There's ashtray if you want to hear. Nice. There's like this constant, like I'm chilling. Thank you. There's like this constant wave of like incredibly talented people. Yeah. And it's like it's so hard to like find that balance between like being inspired but not like aspiring to be them.
Right.
Like that is so
like stick
difficult.
to your guns and be like, I'm this kind of artist.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Especially like when you're a fan of so much. Do you guys have a lighter?
You going over there?
Toss it.
Hey yo. Oh.
Let's edit that out.
Oh, it was close.
Bro, I cannot stretch my arms in this jacket, dude.
It's all tight. Yeah. I had this man Gosh on here. The shout out to Gosh, they're the best. But I had them on here a month and a half ago. But they we were talking to them about like the difference between like metal aesthetics. Like there's like new metal aesthetic and there's like old metal aesthetic and then there's like, you know, metalcore aesthetic. It's like all different. They all wear like different corresponding kinds of leather.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
Or patches and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, but it was like when I moved here it was so hard to like how do you look at something you love and simultaneously be inspired by it but not like want to be it, you know? Like how do you like not compare yourself to it but also remain inspired? It's so difficult.
Yeah, I mean like in the next album we do, like after Live Your Fantasy, I definitely like there's a lot of different like sounds in there. Like it's definitely like when I first started the band, I was like, I'm gonna be an indie band. Yeah. Like I was listening to a lot of King Cruel at the time, and you know, I was like, this is like I'm gonna be the fucking Mexican King Cruel. Like that's what I fucking decided on.
Yeah. That's sick. That's such a cool idea.
And I was really into punk like when I was in high school as well. So I was like, I'm gonna have like fast songs as well to get the fucking crowd going. But you know, now like I have songs that you know, have like classical guitar that sound like, you know, like Spanish like boleros, like if you know like Los Panchos and stuff like that. I have songs that are like very indie, like, you know, I don't know, like maybe like Cuco sounding or stuff like that, you know. And I kind of just like want to do whatever the fuck I want. Yeah. I don't want to be confined to a certain sound. And I know like everybody says like it's so hard for them like to say like what genre they are. Yeah. And it's definitely hard for me. I've kind of pinpointed it now like from the songs that I've put out. But as far as like moving forward, like I want to do fucking everything. Yeah. You know, I love everything, and I'm such a fan of that. Like I love going to shows where you have like a thrash metal band and then you have like a fucking techno DJ. Yeah, and, dude. You know, I want that. Like especially like, you know, the way we consume music now, like on Spotify, we're shuffling through our fucking phones. Yeah, like 100%. We're not like, I'm gonna listen to fucking thrash metal for. Dude, totally. You know what I mean?
I agree. I just had a conversation about this recently. I don't think there's like, I think the days where like we were fans of genre, or like, you know, like the days where we were fans of solely a genre are done.
Or we like identified with.
Yeah. Right. I think that's kind of gone now. Like, and I think like when people stopped paying for music, it killed that. Because I think when we were still paying for music, you had to do that almost. Right. You know, because you only had so many chances to like, you know, if you're buying, I mean, whether it was a record or a CD or an MP3 or whatever it was, even iTunes era, it was like you had to pay for something. so you didn't want to like consume everything because then you're buying a bunch of random songs and shit. It was like I think then people would like identify like, oh, like I love thrash metal, so they would buy a lot of like thrash metal records.
That makes a lot of sense
because you don't get a lot of choices. But now I think the real music fan,
or like I like this, so I go to a record store, I'm gonna go to the fucking metal section, and this is my area. When really you probably enjoy a lot more, but it's you can only buy fucking 2 records at a time, if that.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like Mario says this thing all the time that I think is really true. He says like a good song is good in any genre. And I think like that is important when crafting bills too. It's like we're working on this show right now in January where we're it's a huge mix of genres. Like it's like there's like rappers on the bill, there's like a hardcore band on the bill, like it's whole mix.
Dude.
But what I think matters is like that the energy matches up, not the genre.
Yes.
I think as long as the energy is the same, because like it's gonna be tough to be like a singer-songwriter that's playing like just an acoustic on a band or a bill with bands.
Yeah.
That's gonna be hard because the energy changes. But like,
I mean, dude,
like a rap group to a hardcore group, it's gonna be pretty similar energy.
Right. I mean, like Turnstile is kind of doing that like on their tour right now. Like they like brought along like Snail Mail.
So cool.
And who else did they bring along? It's like
JPEG.
JPEG. That's so sick. Like it's not all hardcore,
Yeah.
And I live for that shit. Like that's like even now, I'm so grateful to say like, like I have my song Car Crash that can be categorized as indie, post-punk. Like I have like Darkwave fools who fuck with it. Like we just did a show with like a bunch of Darkwave fools.
Cool.
Like it was a whole Darkwave like night. Where we can do like a fucking show with like indie.
Yeah.
Like so for our record release show, I'm so excited about this. We're literally doing that. So we have
what day is it? So everybody knows, December 15th.
Yes,
12th?
sir.
Nice. I just looked this morning. Hell yeah,
Nice,
I'll be
dude.
there.
Good memory.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. But what's it called? So we have the band Pleasure Pill from San Diego, and so they have a very like Oasis vibe, like Brit pop kind of.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off.
Yeah.
Just be careful with that cord, because like.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, because it is the power cord, and there was one time where someone accidentally unplugged it. So just.
Oh fuck! I'm so
sorry. No, you're good, dude. No worries.
I saw you like eyeballing it the whole time.
I was like, oh, careful.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you saying?
But yeah, they're like a Brit pop band, like kind of like Oasis, Brian Jonestown Massacre vibe. And then we have a band called the Mainliners who I really fuck with. That are like they're very like 80s punk, so like the band like X, and like
nice.
they look so cool and their music is so cool. And we have another band called The Grin that is very like Ice Age, like the band Ice Age. I love Ice Age, and it's very like you might know like the Gun Club, like stuff like that. And then we have a KCRW DJ who's gonna be like spinning.
Whoa.
Yeah, dude. So it's gonna be like very eclectic, you know, like. And that's the shit I live for. Like that's what I want to like cultivate. Is I don't want to just like stay in one scene. As much as I like, we build like good relationships with people in those scenes, and I know that that's a good way to, to grow like quickly, is to like keep doing shows with like people in that scene or whatever, and so like that's what I wonder, like if it's gonna take us more time to like really pop off, because we're kind of all over the place. Yeah. But I really want to stick to my guns in that sense. Like I think it's true to myself,
I think you're very, very wise for that. I think like people get way too caught up in like the specifics of how some people will perceive something and just don't realize that in my opinion, right, when it comes to like that specific thing, the only thing that matters is community.
Yes.
It doesn't matter at all. Like where these people are from, where where they're going, where they are right now. It's just, rather, it doesn't matter where they're going. It doesn't matter where they're from. It just matters where they are right now.
Absolutely.
It's like I think people overthink genre from like an industry or like a musician standpoint. It's like we're so consumed with like, well, these two same acts work on a bill. Well, these two acts work on a bill. Could they be on a song together? Whatever. But it's like, I don't think consumers think like that.
Absolutely not. But who does is big labels.
Yeah,
like, as far as like marketing, like, oh, he's a Mexican American artist who plays like indie music. So let's market him like this. It's pause. They're really not liking.
Yeah,
they're
they're not fucking with this.
Yeah. Just cut it off. But yeah, I think that's very important to me. That's very important to me.
Is that something you've had to deal with so far? Like kind of trying to be tied down? Has anybody like from like a management or a label or an outside perspective kind of reached out, and have they asked about like branding and like what your future plans are at all, and how have you dealt with that?
I mean, definitely, like people always want to get us onto like Latino I don't know, Latino radio stations or whatever, like stuff like that. And I say yes to it, but I always make sure that there's like a balance.
Totally.
Like I don't want to just, don't get me wrong, I fucking, I identify as like a fucking Mexican, like I speak fluent Spanish, but I think it's, like I love everything, and I wanna be able to like jump around and do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
there's definitely that like people instantly want to market us that way.
Yeah. People want to like label other individuals because they think like, well, it's what I don't like, I think, is when like white or straight label execs will go into like a minority group and then try to label them as something and only brand them as such because they think other people from that community will identify with them, but they themselves don't identify with that community.
Wow.
That kind of
Dude, you're so fucking smart.
No, dude, you're
great
smart.
Ideas, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I just have anxiety and think a lot. I'm not smart, but I appreciate it, dude. Thank you so much.
Very like well thought out, very thorough ideas you have. I'd love to hear it, man.
Thank you, man. You as well. I appreciate it.
I don't hear
bro.
that very often. That's fucking
Thank you.
sick. Yeah.
Thank you. Of course. Yeah. But no, that I don't like that because it feels like it's like the logical next step of cultural appropriation where it's like we are trying to like act as if we fit in this group because we want other people to like identify with it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like that to me feels so contrived and like like almost like conspiratorial. Like it's like it's like I don't like it'd be different if there was like, for example, for you, right? There was like a Mexican American label exec trying to like flesh out that culture aspect of like who you are, because of course it's part of who you are. But it feels so weird if like a white person tried to do it because like they aren't you.
Yeah.
And
then I've definitely had people tell me like, start making music that sounds like this. Like that sounds like a Mexican American artist. I don't even know what the fuck that means.
Yeah, that's so weird, dude.
It's very weird.
It's so
very
strange.
Weird. But I mean, like, even like on TikTok, like people are popping up like crazy on TikTok, and it's all, like people do hashtags, hashtag like fucking, whatever, like, so we're kind of also like putting ourselves into those categories, even if we're not trying to do that. I don't think it's a negative thing always. Like I think often it's a really awesome thing to provide that level of community. Sure.
But I just think like it's weird when outsiders of that community try to understand the inner mechanisms of it. But it's cool because I think like in a way it's interesting because I think like when I think of like I had a conversation about this recently. Everything that is cool right now is rooted in counterculture. And that's nothing new. It's always been like that.
Yeah.
Like whatever like big music industry is doing, the logical contrary to that is always what it's been considered cool, and that's always been more powerful than the traditional industry.
I mean, look at we were just bumping Olivia Rodrigo's new album.
Yeah.
Like that shit sounds, it's like it has punk
production.
Exactly, dude. Like the homies from Grave Secrets just dropped a new album. Shout out
Grave Secrets.
Go listen to it. But I was like, this is a similar vibe. Like Grave Secrets is just more like, like true to it. But it's exactly what you're saying.
Do you think that's weird when like an outsider of a genre I was about to say, does that feel weird because she's like an outsider of that genre? But then I kind of reinterpreted that thought. Like, does she have to be an outsider of that genre? Like why technically is she not like?
Well, I guess maybe because she didn't like come up in the, like she's a Disney Channel star.
Yeah, for sure.
So she didn't like come up in the ranks like doing fucking like backyard shows or whatever.
But do you have to? That's the question.
I mean, I don't think so. I think you can just be a fan and have a love for that kind of music. Like that's tight. Like she like loves Paramore and she has good taste in music. Like I think it's so stupid to. It's like so like hard headed to just be like, I only consume my music if it comes out this way. Like, does it really matter where it's coming from?
Yeah. No, I get it, dude. I have one of my best friends, Jake Nuffer. Shout out to Nuffer. He has this song called Spirits, and it's like such an incredible song. But it's about like small niche music communities that brand themselves on like the narrative like inclusion, but then like inherently and like the insides of them are like exclusive because like they become so inclusive that like their MO is being inclusive. So anybody that comes in those communities that like doesn't fit their version of what that looks like, and not what that is, but what that looks like, is then like ostracized in that community. Like he has this metaphor. It's so funny in the song. He has this metaphor of this guy named Blue Spirit Joe.
Okay.
We always joke about him. But
is he cousins with Cotton Eye Joe?
Well, I guess no, because well, Cotton Eye Joe, I don't know what he did, but
another backstory behind Cotton Eye Joe.
Blue Spirit Joe just smokes blue spirits. Yeah. Different Joes.
Okay.
Yeah, but Blue Spirit Joe, I guess, is just this guy who's at like basement shows or house shows, like chain smoking blue spirits.
Right.
But it's like, there's a lyric he says like Blue Spirit Joe, gatekeeper dressed in different clothes. I think that's so interesting because it's like, you know, the narrative, like the indie kid at like the house shows, like smoking a cigarette, but like, you know, supposed to be inclusive, but in reality, he's just a gatekeeper that like, you know, follows a different trend.
Right. That's another hard thing about making the music that like we're making, I feel like, is I feel like our music is kind of like the people who are gonna listen to our music a lot of the times are gatekeepers.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I can definitely be a gatekeeper at times, but it's like that hard thing, like fucking punks or indie kids, like they don't wanna generally, like they don't wanna like say who they're listening to or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
no.
You know? Like I
Weird
always think about that. Like how many people are gatekeeping my music?
I'm
Please
gatekeeping Israel's
stop.
Arcade.
Yeah.
That's wild, dude. That's a crazy thought.
Dude, it's insane. But I've done it, you know?
Dude, I used to be the worst at that, man. Like, I remember I had a friend here stay this weekend. Shout out to David Cook. He's been my friend since I was like a little kid. We were here making music this weekend, and me and him were talking about how like when we were in 6th grade, we were like super into classic rock, and that was like we both grew up listening to classic rock, and we'd go to we go to school wearing like Pink Floyd shirts. We go to school wearing like Stone shirts, and like Beatles shirts and Nirvana shirts, and whenever we saw other kids doing that, we'd go up to them and be like, "Hey, like, what's your favorite Rolling Stones song? Name 5 Nirvana songs." And I think back, I'm like, that is like
so cringe.
The most embarrassing thing that I think I've done in my past. Is like that.
Yeah, it's so funny. People were wearing like Harley Davidson shirts.
Yeah.
Say like asking them name 5 songs.
Yeah, name 5 Harley Davidson songs. Name 5 motorcycles. Yeah. It's just like let people wear what they want, dude. Like let people do things because they think it's cool. Like you know what I mean?
But you know what? I agree with that. But I definitely like. I just think I'm a fucking indie kid or whatever at heart. That I definitely like subscribe to that idea, or I don't subscribe to that idea. But like I still have like some like a little like subconscious voice in the back of my head saying like, you know, like you really don't like, or you know what I mean?
No, I do get it. I do get it to a degree for
it's
sure.
It's hard to like break away from that because it's definitely still there.
Yeah.
Like I fucking what was something that I loved recently, but that I like. Oh, it's Pink Pantheress. Like when like she first popped off on like TikTok. Like I was like
with like pain and everything.
Yeah, like I always knew it sounded cool, and I always liked it from the first time I heard it. But because it was so popular, I never listened to it up until like fucking like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I kind of just forgot about it for a while, but I came to that realization like I really didn't fucking listen to this because it was popular. It's like, I don't know. It's like, and it's an illness, dude. I don't know what the fuck that's about.
No, I get it though, dude. I think it comes from like all of us we all just are on this massive quest for like community and like acceptance and to feel like we've like found our people and our place. And it's like when we do, like we hold on to it so tightly, and anything that makes us feel like it's like we're losing it or losing control of it is like terrifying.
I will say, there's one album that I still gatekeep.
What is it?
There's one album, and it's an album that I grew up with. Like my dad. So, when I was a kid, we like road trip to San Francisco. My dad.
Really?
Yeah, we rented a car, and somebody left a CD in that car, and we fucking played it, and it was like the most insane shit like ever. And it's like they're not a big artist now. Like they like have very little listeners, you know. But like I've showed it to like some of my best friends, and they weren't like that into it, and so but like that album means a lot to me.
Yeah.
You know, like I love that album to death, but they like kind of don't get it, or they don't have the appreciation that I have for it. So it's kind of something that I like keep close to me. Like okay, like you can't have this. You know.
That's beautiful. I mean, yeah, and that's the other side of it, right? Like that is so beautiful. I think there's something to be said about like us. Like there's songs and albums that I forever romanticize, regardless of whether or not it's like, you know, void for my taste or like something I normally wouldn't listen to. There's albums that I love because of where they remind me of, you know, or like where I was in my life when I found them.
Right.
Like Radiohead's No Surprises, like that song will like forever mean more to me than like almost any other song, because it was like, it was
more
just
than Creep.
a little bit, yeah. But it was like that song made me realize like things that changed my life,
right?
And I think because of that, like I'll never let go of that song. It's a huge song, gigantic,
of course.
But it's like
you don't listen to it the way I'm listening to it.
Yeah. You don't know Radiohead like I know Radiohead. And it's like I'm not even that big of a Radiohead fan. I just love that song.
Absolutely.
You know? Is there like any other records or songs that like remind you of a very specific period of your life?
Let me think. Like as a kid, I was really into The Doors. That was like my favorite band up until I was probably like 14, and then after that was like Sublime.
Nice, hell yeah.
Yeah, and then like one of my idols as a kid was fucking Kurt Cobain, Nirvana, of course. But I don't know, I feel like I can't keep those. You know? They're so popular.
You know Nirvana like I know Nirvana.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've never heard fucking what's like a small, like a not as popular Nirvana song? Fucking
Rape Me. It's not a popular song.
I feel like it is.
Is it?
I feel like it is just because...
I feel like anything off In Utero is like a valid choice in that department.
I feel like just because that like song is so...
Anything
yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Just because that song is so like, I don't know, like controversial, the title, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like that's why it's so like people know about it.
Yeah.
Like, people know that they have a song called
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about like the whole lead up to your record.
Okay.
Like doing the singles thing for like how many, like a couple years now, right? Do you think like how did that serve you in terms of the way it built momentum and a fan base and like a listener base behind you, like to get you to this place where you're comfortable putting out an album? And was that something you consciously thought about? Because I think people especially in the band scene, in the band world, people are very quick to just throw an album out for no particular reason. But I think like a lot of people don't understand that like if you have your best stuff on a record, it makes a lot more sense to like, you know, accumulate a fan base through singles and, you know, do the whole waterfall release thing and then get it out. What was that something you consciously wanted to do? Did you think about that? And like how has it served you? You think you've been able to build up a fan base that's like anticipating the album?
I think there's definitely pressure to like get an album out. It's like you need a fucking album, you know? But going back to what we were talking about before, like I believe like the way music is consumed now, people aren't listening to whole albums. Like they're just listening to a song I like, you know? And then you might like this artist and then they have another song you like, and you know? Like people don't have generally they don't have whole albums saved on Spotify. You know, just like a song here and there. And so that was definitely part of it. Like I wanted to just put out good songs, you know, without having to put out like a whole album. Another part of it was like I didn't want to put out an album until like I felt like I had enough, you know, like viewers, you know. But yeah, it's like I think it's worked for us. Like we'll play a show and people know our singles, you know. But I was just thinking about this today, that like the next album that I want to do, I'm like, I don't know if I want to have a fully cohesive album, like from start to finish. You know what I mean? Like, like for it to have a specific sound. Like lately I've just been into like writing good songs. Like that's pretty much all I care about right now. Because like what you were saying earlier, you know, like a good song can be translated like, you know, through like whatever, if it's like a fucking metal song or whatever, it can be played on acoustic guitar and you'll still identify the song. You know? So I want to just like, what I've been into lately is just like I've been trying to like get good at songwriting, like actually writing good songs, writing good lyrics, you know, not so much about like having like the most cohesive album, because what is that really going to do for me? You know, I feel like labels are the only ones who are really going to fucking care about that. Like, is this album marketable because it is a pop punk album?
And they might not even really care about that, to be honest. Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know. It's something I've still been debating. Like I've been thinking about like maybe there's a way like, you know, like I have a lot of accordion in my new songs.
Cool. Yeah. Wow. Do you play it?
No, it's all like MIDI.
Okay. Yeah.
but it's the accordion sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking, like, what if I get rid of the accordion sound and just make it like guitar leads instead of accordion leads, so that it sounds a little bit more cohesive. But no, I want to have a fucking accordion in there.
Yeah.
It sounds so fucking cool. It sounds
different.
pretty. It sounds cute, and so yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think there is something that, like, there's something to be said about, like, having instruments or just parts of it or elements of whatever you're doing that just set you apart from everybody else. Like, even if you're not, like, super attached to them or love them, it's like the idea that, like, you have a record with multiple accordion songs on it is gonna, like, instantly set you apart, you know? And it's cool. I think a lot of people don't, like, I think there is something we do as musicians where, especially, and this is also, I think, a very big thing in the band world, where people, like fetishize and, like, romanticize the album.
Yeah.
It's like that is, like, the goal. The goal is always, like, the album.
Yeah.
But it's, like...
It's such a great album.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's because we all grew up listening to albums,
Absolutely.
of course. But it's, like, I think it's just so difficult at this point in the music industry to, like, do that still. And it's because, like, even, like, the very medium at which we listen to albums is no longer the same.
Yeah.
So it's, like, to, market it the same and to build up to it in the same way, it doesn't exist anymore, you know?
mean, you look at, like, artists whose songs, like, blow up on TikTok. You go to their Spotify and they have 5 million monthly listeners.
Yeah.
And that's all, like, they have 2 albums out and it's all coming from that one song.
Yes.
So maybe the music industry is, like, adapting to that, like, to those artists.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see those artists, like, playing Coachella now and headlining festivals.
Yeah.
There was a time when I was like, this TikTok thing isn't gonna fucking work for people.
Yeah.
Because I did hear about a couple artists who have, like, songs that have, whatever, they have, like, 3 million monthly listeners.
Can't fill a 200 cap room.
Exactly. Like, they
Yeah.
they played at this, it was I think it was, like, the Observatory or something, and they could only sell, like, 75 tickets.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane.
And that's why I would say that I honestly agree with you in the terms of, like, I know you said you thought that was going to be the thing. I think that is a thing. I really agree with that. I don't think TikTok's serving artists anymore generally. I think, like, if you're putting a ton of time into TikTok, you have to be really good at it to blow up on TikTok.
Right.
And if you spend the time to get good enough, to make the kind of videos that would do well on TikTok or blow you up on TikTok, you probably understand marketing to the point where you can do it without it. And it's just like, it's I think we realized, I think the only reason we kind of had this false idolization of TikTok for so long was because of the time period at which it came about. I think it coming about during the pandemic we didn't realize that, like, these weren't fans. TikTok is not making fans. It doesn't. It does occasionally, but it does because you're hyper curating your TikToks and your branding and, like, that, that's one strategy that works. But it's like the average, like, person who's, like, putting their phone up against their kitchen counter and saying, like, showing my mom my song for the first time, or, like, if you like this artist, and this artist, you should listen to this. Like, you can get streams on your song that way, but it's not going to make you a fan base. Yeah. So it's like, I think the best people who are utilizing TikTok right now are the ones who understand how to gain fans from it and not listeners.
I agree. But I would definitely say, like, it gives like labels and a lot of venues credibility. You know what I mean? Like, if an artist has, like, 5 million streams on a song or whatever, like, you show that to a label, or you show it to a venue, and you can tell them, like, I can pack this room out. Like, it can get you into places, and you can make a good amount of money through streaming. You know what I mean? So it's like, maybe like packing a full fucking room is not what you want.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but just to push back with that a little bit, like, I do think, like, the reason why that works is because labels don't understand these things yet. Like, I really don't think that, like...
They haven't shifted yet.
I think the traditional industry at large does not understand the concept of, like, in an ultra-saturated market, the way that a product or a person or an artist stands out is simply through, like, a world around it and a fan base around it and an actual community around it.
There's so many artists that are blowing up right now, they can't get all of those fucking TikTok artists onto stages. Yeah. Like, that's not how it works.
Well, it's because I think there's now, and this is really interesting to me, I think there's, like, now a disconnect for the first time. Yeah. I don't think the disconnect between fan base and listeners ever existed until now, because there's never ever in history been a time until the last 3-4 years where you can have 2 million monthly listeners and not sell at a 200 cap room.
Yeah.
Like that's never existed
It's
until
absurd.
now, because the listener used to be the fan.
Yeah.
Now the listener is the listener and the fan is the fan. That TikTok has created that disconnect, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
That's absolutely right, dude.
and I don't think labels understand that yet.
Yeah.
And it's like the old industry fighting back against the new industry, but it's like these traditional structures of power, these same pillars, like they don't get these things yet.
Yeah,
And I think
artists have to do a lot more work now.
For sure, yeah.
Because, you know, you have to fucking work at, you know, marketing on social media, TikTok, Instagram Reels, all that bullshit, while also building a live audience and building like fucking diehard fans, you know?
Yes.
Whereas before you put out, you know, an album or an EP, whatever, you play shows and that's how it fucking works, and you know, that's how like most of your like publicity comes from. And now you have to do like dude, on my fucking to-do list is literally like, this is fucking so cringy to say, but like work on music, like fucking post some shit on Instagram or whatever, promote the thing I have to promote, like brainstorm, like fucking, I don't know, social media tactic ideas or stuff like that.
and I think what
That's crazy. Like
yeah.
I'm doing like the work of like industry.
Five
like,
people.
Exactly.
And that I think is what people don't. But I think there's some cool things that come out of that, right? It's like I think that like a lot of filmmakers don't understand that there's more work in music right now than there ever has been, because I don't think a lot of them. It's this weird disconnect, right? It's because like musicians will be musicians, they're not marketing experts and they're not filmmakers.
Yeah.
But in order for musicians to really get that push behind them and that power to be able to elevate them to the next level, they need filmmakers behind them,
Yeah.
or they have to be filmmakers themselves,
Yeah.
because they have to build a world, which takes a marketing budget and takes a marketing
Yeah.
team, and people will understand how to build a fan base.
So
But
maybe
it's-
that's chiseling away at like the most equipped people.
Yeah.
But you definitely have a motherfucker who is like extremely talented at music
Mm-hmm.
and does not have like a visual artistic vision.
I see it every single day. I feel like.
I feel like I am one of those people. I mean,
I think you're good at branding your stuff.
it's hard.
Yeah, no, for sure. But that kind of kills me, dude. The idea of like these kids in like the middle of nowhere that are like
Yeah.
infinitely talented, but like
Right.
they don't comprehend the business side of this, so like they will never be heard, and that
Ugh.
sucks. And that's
That's
why
so
I think
annoying.
like it's terrible, dude. And that's why I think like good managers are more needed right now than they ever have been. You know.
I fucking hear that, dude.
Yeah, because it's like I'll ask you this, like as a musician, like doing doing things that you need to do to succeed that aren't music, are they taxing for you? Do you like dread them, or is it just part of it?
I like it sometimes, but sometimes like I just want to make music.
Yeah.
I just want to fucking play music and
Yeah.
like jam with my buddies, but I can't do that because I have to, you know, I don't know, like do all this fucking industry bullshit, you know?
Yeah. It's like there's this whole other side of it that like you have to do.
Yeah.
There's no way around
Like it happens every week, like literally
Yeah.
like every other day where I want to make music or I want to play music and I can't because I have to, you know, do all this other shit.
Mhm.
Like it's fucking annoying. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bet, man. It's like, it's strange too, because there's never been a time where like as a musician you had to wear so many hats. You have to wear more hats now than you ever have had to.
Absolutely.
It's like a really, really strange time to be a musician, I think, especially one that's like understands these things.
Yeah.
Is it daunting to you? Like the idea that all these things are not maybe not necessary, but like could like, you know, very much help the odds of you being more successful, or is it exciting because there's so many tools?
It's kind of overwhelming that there
Yeah.
are so many tools because now it's like there's so many fucking tools, there's so many things that I have to do because I'm obviously going to use the fucking tools.
Yeah.
You know, at least me personally. So it feels like now like my to-do list has gotten a lot fucking bigger.
Yeah.
Also want to say like I have so many friends who are extremely talented, you know, but suck at like these people are made to be stars. Like
Yeah,
they
I feel
have
it,
the
dude.
fucking look. They're so cool. They're so talented. Their music is great. They have everything to be a star, but they cannot promote for shit.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Yo, song dropping tomorrow."
Yeah.
Dude,
It's like, dude,
I'll be
come
honest,
on,
man.
bro.
People say song dropping tomorrow. I'm not listening.
No, hell no.
I'm not listening. Me personally, I'm not fucking listening because to me that's just showing me like how much you fucking really care about this. Like
Yeah.
how can you work on something for so long and then say like, all right, this is it now.
Yeah.
I don't like with no fucking momentum or no like hype around it. People
Yeah.
are not going to listen to it.
No.
You know, like you're not going to get the results you want. And that's
It's just the
like,
reality. Yeah.
that's so like sad to see. And it's like, it's even hard to like tell my like artist buddies to be like, dude, like you gotta do a little bit more. Like you gotta build it up a little bit more. Like, but I can't do that because the song is literally dropping tomorrow.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time for that.
Yeah.
It's weird because like those are the only people that get hurt. The people who understand like the idea that like you need to do all these things.
Yeah.
It sucks, but they're very often the only ones that get hurt. Do you think like there's ever like a music part of, like, do you think there's a case where the music can be so good that it cuts through all that and none of that shit matters?
Very good question. It is rare, but it does happen actually a lot, I would say. Like, I don't know, like you have artists that blow up on Spotify and not like, they don't have an Instagram, they don't have a TikTok.
Dude, it's so weird.
It's insane. And I'm so jealous of those people, you know? But it's like the music is so good, and then like the cover, like their artist cover will just be like, I don't know, like a kitten or some shit.
Yeah, isn't it so weird where that happens,
But that is like
bro?
a niche thing, you know? It's like, that's like the gate, you know, keepable shit, you know? It's like, I found this fucking really underground artist, and like the artist's name is in all lowercase letters.
Yes.
And they have 2 songs that are huge.
Yeah. I'm gonna maybe I should gatekeep this, but I'm not going to. There's an artist I found named Cottonwood Firing Squad.
Nice.
That he is
such a sick title.
Yeah, sick name. But he's just so like, he has like no Instagram followers, no social presence,
No
nothing.
bio.
He's just, his music though is so good, dude. And he's like this guy. I've like looked into it. Like he's this guy in the Midwest that just like makes shit in his room.
That's
And
awesome.
it's like, I feel like he probably just makes his money off streaming and just calls it a day.
Yep.
Never seen him promote a show. Never seen him do anything.
Yep.
I don't even know if he performs. You know.
Another thing I wanted to say is like, me, I have kind of viewed like my singles as like, almost as like campaigns. You know what I mean? So like 12 Regrets was our first song. So it was kind of like, I was like doing the fucking 12 Regrets campaign for like a year.
Yeah.
Or like over a year. And just like pushing that song. And it became like our biggest song. Now it's not, but you know, it like got like a, you know, like a good amount of streams and shit, you know, but I kind of viewed my singles as like big campaigns to, you know, to get like more listeners. Whereas like, I can talk about this because this is his thing, but like my synth and sax player, who's the same dude, he plays both.
Synth and sax.
Yeah. One time on stage, I accidentally said synthophone. He plays synthophone.
This is my synthesax player.
Synthesax.
Synthesax.
He makes music. He makes like electronic music.
Cool.
And he will drop like 3 albums in like a span of, you know, I don't know, like 2 months or
That's
something.
wild.
Like, and each album has like 11 songs or something, you know? But like his thing is like, he doesn't want to like become a big artist. Like he just makes so much music on his own, and he's
That's
just like
cool.
putting it out.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas me, I'm like, you guys get one song, like let's campaign this.
Promote the shit out of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
How many songs do you write that you don't put out?
I would say most, probably.
Yeah.
Most. But you know, if there's a song that I really like, I'll follow through with it. You know? Like if I think it like really has potential to be put out. Yeah, but there's quite a bit that I keep for myself that's like too weird to, or just like maybe not like fully like realized yet.
Yeah.
You know,
I love the idea of like keeping something for yourself though.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. Like the idea that like songs don't, and it's very, very like selfless, I think, to like share what you are creating with other people, you know?
Yeah.
I think it is a selfless act, but it's like you don't have to. You can keep it for yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. Putting out music is like the most like, it's like the most simultaneously selfish and selfless thing that you can do, because it's like, on one hand, right, it's like it's so self-absorbed and so like
You guys
know,
are gonna fucking love this.
Love this. You're gonna love me. You're gonna love this.
Right.
But then it's like on the other hand, it's so like selfless. Like put a part of yourself out into the world. Like allow people to like hear these things that like that like you are saying personally about yourself, and like it's like telling your story in hopes that it'll help somebody else. You know, it's so helpless. Oh, take your jacket off. Stay a while. That is a crazy shirt.
Thanks.
That is a
After
crazy
smoking a
shirt.
stogie.
I don't smoke. It's like a wild shirt.
Right on the titties.
What is that shirt? Did you make that?
My girlfriend found it at a flea
That is so
at the swap
sick.
meet.
Dude, the swap meet finds are unbeaten.
Exactly.
What is your tattoo?
This is just like a panther and a snake.
Oh, cool. What does it
Yeah.
mean?
It's
It's just a cool panther.
Yeah,
Sick.
yeah.
Fuck yeah. Those are two badass animals.
Yeah, right.
That's sick. I wanted to ask you too about growing up like in Coachella.
Mhm.
I've never met anybody who grew up in Coachella. That's really cool. I looked up the population's like what, like 40,000?
I think it's less.
Less?
Yeah, I mean the Coachella Valley. There's the Coachella Valley, and then you have just the city of Coachella, which
Yeah.
is where I live. I think that I looked it up. I think it's maybe like 17 to 20,000.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I would imagine like I know we were talking about this briefly before, but like the tourism aspect of that
Yeah.
when there's the biggest music festival in the world there is does it get weird? Because like do you just grow up like knowing that every year like my life is just gonna be incredibly different because of this festival and like where I am just transforms?
You know what's weird? I feel like I didn't notice the festival until I was probably like in middle school or something.
Huh.
Like as a kid, I like didn't realize that that's what was happening.
Really?
I think so.
So
like
doesn't
we
it-
would never go.
Yeah.
You know, like it would just like be a little bit more traffic sometimes.
But it doesn't like fully disrupt the way of life there.
No.
Oh, interesting. I don't know why I figured it did.
I mean, if it does, it's only for like Coachella's 2 weekends and then Stagecoach is 1 weekend.
Oh yeah. Huh.
So it's only like, you know, like fucking, I don't know.
like a month.
Yeah,
Or like 3 weeks.
I mean,
guess?
it's just the weekends though. Like that's when
Yeah.
it gets the most busy. And so we usually like like in those weekends we'll like leave town or something or like, you know, like just get away from that. But now it's exciting for me. Like even
That's
with
cool.
Yeah, it's like I remember when I was like in high school and I was like a little asshole, I like hated Coachella people. You know, especially like fucking
Yeah.
like Vanessa Hudgens type of like fucking Austin Butler like Coachella
Yeah.
fashion.
Yeah.
Like I would like see those motherfuckers walking around and just think like, what fucking pussies, you know? But now I think it's so fun. Like it's so
Yeah.
cool. I always say this, but I heard Beyonce from my
Wow.
backyard once.
Oh, that's so
Pretty
sick.
sick.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know if it was like some like you know like how in Hawaii like a lot of like all the industry is funded about like tourism and stuff. Like
Right.
I didn't know if it was that kind of thing. But I guess if it's only a couple of weekends a year, it wouldn't change
That's
much.
it. It's just 3 weekends. That's it.
Yeah.
We just had a Power Trip, which was like Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, AC/DC.
That was also there.
That was there at the Polo Grounds.
Okay. So it's that big venue.
That's where, and it's Golden Voice who like runs that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the Golden Voice like headquarters are there as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it like a
Yeah.
big city like where you're from? I mean, well, you said it was small, but is it like city adjacent? Or
Not
is it like
at
a
all.
town?
It's like a town. I mean, it's like the equivalent of like or like any like riverside town. You know?
Oh,
It's
okay.
like, yeah, there's no like buildings, like tall buildings or anything like that.
So it's like relatively tight knit, relatively small.
Yeah.
That's
it is.
cool that you were curating like those house shows out there at that point, because I would imagine there wasn't a lot of that around, was there? You said there was just a few bands.
Absolutely not, dude. Absolutely not. Yeah. I mean, we were like the only ones doing it at the time.
That's sick.
I apologize if anybody else was doing it and I was anywhere, but as far as I know.
Yeah, back then. So do you? So I want to make sure I understood this. You write all the stuff, right? And then
Yes.
you bring it to the band.
Mhm.
How's that process like? Like, will you write the other parts, or will you'll write like some of the parts and then you'll bring it to them and they expand upon it? What's the process like when it goes like from you to them?
So I write all their parts, but it's very common for like I want their style to also show through. You
For
know
sure,
what I mean?
yeah.
So like my drummer will like I tell him like throw in whatever fill like you feel in the moment, whatever you think is cool.
Insert
or-
fill here.
Exactly. Or like my bass player will like switch up the bass line sometimes and I'll catch it and we'll just like look at each other.
That's
and
sick.
Or sometimes it'll suck and I'll just be like, dude, what the fuck? Why don't you just stick to it?
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much I write all of it.
Cool.
Which is kind of like I'm writing like so much music now that it's like
Uh-huh.
it's like fuck, I have to teach them so much shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it for? Yeah, bro. That's got to be a lot. I guess I never even considered
I
that.
have to teach every single fucking person like
Yeah, you had to go back
their
like, oh, like
parts.
this. That's
Yep.
got to be so hard.
Yep.
So you guys been playing together like back even when you were doing the house shows and stuff.
No.
That was a different band.
Actually, with this current lineup, we probably did like one house show together.
Okay, so it's been a long time.
Yeah. I've had different a whole like different lineups.
Has that gotten easier over the years, like teaching people the parts and stuff?
Yes and no, like because there's so much time in between like new bandmates that I have to relearn the parts. Like I have to like relearn like the lead parts or whatever, you know. But now I'm like good at communicating that, and or like, you know what I mean, like vocalizing. Like I think in the past, like maybe like when I was in high school, I wasn't that good of like a leader, and so I'd just be like, yeah, just like play this and or like try to get them to learn it by ear. And now I'm like more organized and like I know how to, like, they're all my friends, but you still have to like know how to talk to them like respectfully, or like, you know, correct them respectfully.
I get it, man. It's I think I was far too insecure to be a leader for like a very, very long time.
Yeah.
I think I was bad at it for a very, very long time. I still don't think I'm the best at it. I'm trying to get better at it, but it's hard, dude. It's like not really what you like.
I think it's weird to think that like, to be like a great leader, like to think of yourself as that way, like I'm a fucking boss.
It's kind of scary. Like it's almost like so narcissistic, you know? Like I don't know though, but it's like I think you can take a step back and try to not be a leader, but maybe try to just be like somebody that like somebody would want to be around, and somebody that somebody would like to look, you know, work with and look up to. It's a weird like place where these things kind of collide. It's like leader, friend, you know, like whatever.
I think you probably shouldn't think of yourself as a leader so much.
I don't think you should at all. It's weird.
Like just like realize what like your duties are, and just, I don't know, learning how to like do them.
It's like being
in a respectful way.
It's kind of like being president. Like I talked to my mom to my mom about this one time. I was thinking like how like narcissistic you have to be to like want to be president. Like like imagine like I think it's either like selfless. Maybe you're like, oh, like I want to help people or whatever. But then maybe I don't know. Like in my head, it's like
the
idea,
being like, this country. Easy,
mine.
I got it. Yeah.
I want to be the leader of the free world.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's
it's insane.
Takes a certain kind of person.
Yeah. Although Obama
weird.
Seemed like chill about it. I don't think Joe Biden knows what the fuck is going on.
Like people talk about Obama, I don't feel like I was like conscious enough to like understand politics when Obama was in office.
Me either, but just like watching him like on TV, like when I was like passing by or whatever, just being like, yeah, that guy's chill.
Obama's for sure like the like the chillest president.
You said Obama funny.
Obama. Obunga. You seen those memes? It was like Obunga and Joe Bungus.
Yeah. What's Obama's last name, dude?
Fuck. I don't know, dude. I think Obama.
What the fuck is Obama's last name? You guys know? Drop it in the comments.
Drop Obama's last name in the chat.
I think it's Bin Laden.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, sorry.
That was wild.
Edit it out.
That was wild. I think like Obama had to be the chillest president. Like if you chose like, you know, if you're like, oh, smoke a joint with one of the presidents, Obama, easy.
I'll have a beer with him, like fucking Anthony Bourdain.
Dude,
like they went to
he had a beer with Obama.
Yes.
Anthony Bourdain shit's so sad.
So cool,
dude.
The what?
Damn, it's so sad.
Yeah, Bourdain. Yeah.
He's like.
He's one of my heroes, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's
Why?
the best. I don't know, just like what he was able to cultivate, just like being himself and like, you know, speaking like so openly about like how he truly feels and his perspectives, and just so raw and honest. Like I think that's one of the reasons I like grew up like loving punk rock, because it was so raw and just like direct and honest. That's like what I'm about. And I feel like that's what he was about as well.
Yeah, 100%. My brother always talks about his book. I've yet to read it.
Yeah.
But it's
I have it.
Yeah.
I'll fucking pass it along.
Dude, that'd be amazing, bro. Yeah, thank you. That'd be fucking awesome. I would love to. But I think that like honesty in everything you do, like for better or for worse, like straightforward, unrelenting honesty, I think is the best way you can live your life on both like a relationship level and a personal level. I think like it's not only is it easier on everybody around you and your loved ones, but it's easier on you. Like if you can go to bed at night and like truly admit that you're an honest person, I think it's just a leeway to a much happier life, you know?
Absolutely.
Last thing I wanted to ask you, if there is like one thing you could like transmit through your music, like one message you could like tell people, you know, the listeners of your music or just people you meet along the way, along the journey, what would it be? Would it be the honesty thing, or do you have something else in mind?
Yep. I think it would be the honesty thing. I think it would be like, whatever you do it honestly. Do it in like the, you know, rawest form you can, and that'll always translate, I think. As far as that goes, like the message that I'd want to convey to the people is probably that, and yeah, just like a positive message. That's what I want to do with my music. Is I
Amazing.
want to like uplift people. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna come out with some like sad bangers as well. But
Yeah.
but I think like that's my main objective. Is
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. It's super selfless, and you very much exude like selflessness and like kindness. So it was like I can't wait to see what you
Likewise, dude.
next. I'm so excited for the record, and thank
yeah.
you so much for sitting down, man. This is a really really fun one. I think it
Dude,
went in a lot of fun directions.
I enjoyed it so much.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
that was great. Thank
Dude,
you so
yeah,
much,
please
man.
come back anytime. You're welcome.
Hell
I'm
yeah, dude.
excited to hear the album.
Fuck yeah.
Thank you, dude.
Fuck
Tell them where they can find you, where they can follow you, where they can stream the record, where they can see you.
Am I on
et cetera,
Hot
et
Ones
cetera.
right now?
Yeah, tell them. Tell them.
Right there. Come right there.
Came right there. Came right there. Oh, he does say that, huh?
Yeah.
Came right there. Came right there. Came right there.
So Israel's Arcade, Live Your Fantasy. Our debut album is coming out December 8th. Our record release show is December 15th. 8 tracks on the album. Come through to the show. Love you guys. See you soon.
Hell yeah. Thank you, bro.
Thanks, dude.
All right. Music matters.
Hell yeah.